Everybody wants to go to heaven. Nobody wants to die. Everybody wants to know the truth, but everybody's telling lies. And you're looking for a good time, sweet thing bless you, but you're looking for the answer to the lover.
Hi, I'm Richard, and we're at the Open Air Blues Festival in Brezoi, Vâlcea, and with me is Lewis King, the King of Blues from Australia.
King of the Rockin Blues. There's another King of the Blues.
King of the Rockin Blues. I stand corrected.
We don't. It's a trade thing. You know, there'll be a lawsuit if I say the King of the Blues. Sorry.
So what's your poison, Lewis?
I tell you what, I don't mind the homemade wine here. That's the trick, I think. It makes you feel good.
What's the wine like in Australia?
Very expensive in comparison. No, we have beautiful wine. You've got beautiful wine here. It's one of the biggest wine industries in the world in Australia. And in summer you play at the wineries. They all have open air venues and you play there. And it's very nice, but you can't drive home.
So you're on your Reloaded tour. Why is it Reloaded?
You'll have to ask my manager.
Is your manager here right now?
I'm afraid to say he is. But no, we just decided to do it. We're doing it again. We're opening up both barrels and we're hitting Romania. And look, I just had so much fun last year and I was sitting at home and it was very cold this winter. And I got the call from Mihai. I got the call from on high, from Mihai, saying, get your ass to Romania and defrost yourself.
Yeah, that's amazing. This is the second time in a row that you're coming to this festival. Did you make any friends here last year that you've kept in touch with?
Absolutely. I mean, the Night Losers for number one. I mean, what a bunch of guys. And I didn't really think I'd made that many friends until I turned up yesterday and I nearly got my arms hugged off by people who I met last year, and we toured, because we toured for a long time last year. And to see those people again was amazing. They're lovely people. Except you. Not sure about you. I love you, Richard.
Okay, good. Then we can continue the interview. How many days a year are you on the road?
Well, I pretty much do about 200 and something shows a year in Australia and traveling. Well, you know, I do 4 gigs a week, so it's about 200, yeah. And then some weeks it's 6, and then some weeks it's none. So I'd have to say, and it's not all on the road, it's in my hometown too, you know. But, you know, you get the call and you go away. I was in Perth in Western Australia in January for a week, and then I came back and I went to Canberra. And in Australia, the distances are so big and the population is so small. When you say on the road, it's just up the road. It just happens to be 8.5 hours up the road. And then we go to Sydney, and then we go to Canberra, and then we come on the way back. We do all the little towns along the coast. And then, you know, and then I come here, and then I go home, and it'll be springtime. And then we've got other shows that we're doing too. I've been working with a guy called Pat Powell in a show that was an accidental thing, because we were talking one night about how we both loved Sun Studios in Memphis. We loved the fact that it was the first studio where black blues artists could record in the South, and we both liked, you know, Little Walter.
Sam Phillips, Elvis Presley.
Yeah, well, you know, he was recording a lot of black artists, and he was selling the records to white kids who had to hide them from their parents. And then he said, I need to find a white guy that can sing like a black guy. And that was Elvis. And the rest is history. And
that's all right, Mama.
And I think to myself, I mean, I actually wrote a song about many years ago, 15 years ago, I wrote a song which we'll be doing tonight called Standing in the Sun, which is how we're all standing in that path that those guys pioneered, you know? I mean, I was driving home from a gig and I was a punk, Richard, I was a punk. I thought I was a punk in my horrible car that was just more rust than car. And I was listening to the radio and I heard on the radio, Blue Moon of Kentucky. And I just sat there transfixed, and I waited until the end, and they said that was Elvis, and I said, no, Elvis is a big fat guy, who has a huge band and singers and stuff. So then I went back and had a look, and then I started to listen to other Sun things, like Ike Turner, the first rock and roll record ever made, Rocket 88, and then, well, that's a fight, that's a bone. I know we'll have a fight about that. And then from there, I went to Louis Jordan and B.B. King. So it's a good thing that Elvis was Elvis, I guess. And I went to his house in Graceland, and my wife stole something. She steals something from everywhere she goes. This won't be on the internet, will it?
Where's your hometown, Melbourne?
I live in a place called Melbourne.
Does Melbourne have a large Greek community?
It has it's the third largest Greek city in the world, after Athens and Thessalonica in Melbourne. It's huge. Why do you ask, Richard?
It's the capital of Victoria.
Yes, and it's also just been announced for the last 2 years as the live music capital of the world.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, look it up. I mean, there are so many gigs and some of them are just little bar gigs, and some of them are concerts and things like that. But and it's a very nurturing place because there's so much work. You encourage young cats to come up, and you find young talent, and you put them in your band for a while, and then they fly off, and they say disparaging things about you.
Not everyone's the same, though.
Yeah, they are.
Okay. How many years have you been playing now?
I started playing music. Oh, you're going to ask me, aren't you? About 40 years. 40. I worked it out the other day. It was 44 years. I was a baby, literally a little baby, and I played a banjo professionally. No, I started at 15, and I'm 60 now, so what's 60? 35, 40 years. Yeah.
Did your parents support you with your music career?
Nah, well, yeah. I mean, it was our family. We're all singers, the whole family, and I was too scared to sing because at every party in Scotland you sing, and so I would sit in the back, and then the finger would come round to me, and I would have to sing my song. But
happy birthday to you.
I'm not going to say what song it was, but I would start singing
Old Lang Syne,
something like that. Okay, if you keep going, you'll get there. But the trip with Scotland is you only sing the first half of a verse, and then the whole party sings with you, and you're listening to 4 and 5 part harmonies coming at you. And in Australia, it's notable that there are like 6 Scottish performers performing who've made a bit of a name for themselves, because like the Easy Beats, AC/DC, all Scottish, except for the one guy who was Dutch. But that's the situation. AC/DC played at my high school dance.
What's the best thing about touring?
16 hours on a plane. No, the best thing about touring is what we're doing right now. Going to places where I've never been, and people think I'm a nice guy. It takes a while for them to work it out that I'm not. But, it seems dumb, but I just dig, like, being able to go and walk in Bucharest and have a look and talk to people about their life, because there's stuff you learn. If I hadn't come here for one gig, I wouldn't have known what a great place it was. And now I spend half my life becoming a Romania bore when I talk to people. I say, get over there, do some shows. Really good people, and they go, oh, what's it like? And I say, go, find out. That's the best thing about traveling.
On stage you have a lot of interesting outfits. Do you have a personal tailor, and how many suits do you have in your collection?
Well, there you go. With that big question, I used to have a tailor, but he retired, and now I just buy off-the-rack crazy suits. Look, I always think that when you go to see someone perform live, you're not going to see a guy you could see down the street. You're going to see, it's almost like a cartoon that you're seeing, and you hear with your eyes, and I'm like screaming, here I am, love me, but it makes me more than myself, because if I just came on with a t-shirt and a pair of shorts, I would just be some schmuck in a band. It still sound good, I think, but with the suits and stuff, it makes you focus, and I'm there for the people, there for the audience, and it makes me more in tune and more aggressive about it.
It's part of showmanship.
Yeah, it's showbiz. Let's call it what it is. It's showbiz. And I like to go and see acts where it looks like they've made an effort to make me look at them. And you know, it's people you wouldn't expect. I mean, I meant to see Billy Joel was one of the first concerts I ever saw, and I was just blown away by his persona on stage and the way he dressed. And again, when I was 12 years old, I saw The Who at Green's Playhouse in Glasgow, and I just went, that's what a rock and roll band looks like. You know, I saw B.B. King, man. Every member of the band was in the same suit, and his security guards and the roadies all dressed in tuxedos. And
I didn't know that.
oh man, and when you got close, you could see how ragged they were. But on stage, because he did 300 shows a year. And so I remember I was talking, because one of the guys I did some shows with B.B. King in Melbourne. We opened for him 3 nights in a row. And one of the guys came up to me and was talking to me about...
And asked, won't you wear one of these suits?
No, what he said to me was, because I was playing stand-up drums in Lewis King at that stage, and he said to me, that's really interesting what you're doing. And I said, what do you do? He said, I'm one of B.B. King's security guys. And then the next night, I thought it was the same guy. He came up and said to me, I saw you last night, that was cool. And I said, so you're one of the security guys? He goes, no, I'm Omar Hakim, his drummer. And I went, oh, okay. You know, but I couldn't tell because they all had the same suits on. And then he said to me, do you want to come and sit on stage with us during the show? Because they had 2 drummers, and I sat at a platform beneath so you couldn't see me from the front, and just sat there on stage watching the band. What an experience. And, you know, that's the stuff that makes the hair on the back of your neck stand up. And, you know, I was watching a video the other day of Brian Wilson recording, and it just...
The Beach Boys.
Yeah, I just nearly lost it. He was recording Wouldn't It Be Nice, and the band was playing, but you didn't know when it was recorded, there was no vocals on it, so you didn't know what it was. But you know the song because you know it, and you just sit there choking up. That's music, Richard. That's what music does.
Just take pity on the fool, pity on the fool, and take pity on the fool, pity on the fool, in love.